exercise was a massive, massive thing for me. And that's why I'm such an advocate for healthy lifestyle and the importance of getting up and getting moving in terms of mental health. I think exercise is one of the most important things you can do if you are struggling with stress, anxiety, depression, all these different things that many of us do go through. I think exercise is one of the biggest keys to this.
Hello, I'm Sheri Jacobson, and this is TherapyLab, a podcast dedicated to therapy, thought, and the art of mental well-being. In this episode, we are joined by nutritionist Kristen Stavridis to talk about the role nutrition can play in mental health and how nutrition and exercise have helped her to manage her own well-being. Kristen, hello and welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Very glad to be here and get involved with this. It seems absolutely amazing from what I've kind of seen before, and I'm very excited to speak to you as well.
Very good. How are you today? Let's start off with a quick well-being check on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. How are you?
Feeling probably around a 9. I've not had a coffee this morning yet, so maybe my coffee later on might boost me up to a 10, but feeling good, yeah.
Good stuff. So I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about what you're doing, what you're working on currently.
Yes, so currently I'm actually a qualified nutritionist, but full-time I'm working in health innovation within the EU, but I'm also running my kind of nutrition business on the side. So my main kind of focus for myself is to help educate women in particular about the importance of diet in their everyday life and mental health as well. I think that's one of the big things recently that I've tried to kind of shift my focus on as well, and promoting kind of wellness in the workplace, and especially for young women, and kind of emphasizing the connection between what we eat and what we're putting into our bodies and how we're living our lifestyles, and how that kind of affects on other factors like disease, longevity of your life, your kind of mental health, your stress levels, and that kind of thing. So so nutrition and promoting health is my main drive and my main mission, I think.
And it covers a large range by the sounds of it.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what your work as a nutritionist is like. What do you do with your clients, and how does it contrast with a dietitian, if I can go into that with you?
Yeah, definitely. So nutritionists are more kind of preventative, and then dietitians are more kind of treatment via food. So a dietitian might be more medical based, more kind of clinical treatment of things like IBS, or working with people with diabetes, for example. Nutritionist is more kind of preventative, so preventing deficiencies, looking at whether there's nutrients like iron or something low in people's diet, and helping things like weight loss and feeling good, better energy, better skin, that kind of thing. So working with clients, I think a lot of people don't realize that everyone is so different. And when I work with a client, there's so much difference between one person and the next. You really have to analyze exactly their food habits, their relationships with food, their kind of lifestyle, their job, their how they kind of envision their relationship with food as well. And kind of assessing this and helping a person based on all these many, many different factors. So it's really interesting for me to kind of see the difference between my clients. You know, I'll be working with someone that's 19, they're a runner, they want to get a little bit healthier, they might want to lose a bit of weight, and then my next client might be, you know, a 50-year-old woman who might want to gain a little bit of weight and might want to maybe go more plant-based and do it healthier. So there's so much difference between people. But it's really interesting for me as well. I like seeing the kind of discrepancies between people's relationships with food, what they're eating, their maybe cultural background, and how that impacts on what they're consuming and putting into their body. So it really, there's such a broad range between a nutritionist's work in terms of health promotion and public health as well. And then working one-to-one with clients too. So lots
And then
of areas.
typically, do you start off with an assessment, and how long might you see someone, and what's the duration of each appointment?
Yes, so it depends if they're maybe an online client. So I have many online clients. It's great I get to work with people from all over the world and make an impact on their health. Or else if they want to come to my clinic, see me face to face, they'll maybe they'll do a food diary analysis. So I'll say to them, can you give me, so in order for me to have a look into their diet and a little peephole into their food choices first, and then I can make my assessments and help them based on that. So I'll get them to maybe fill out a food diary, kind of give me an insight into their activity levels, their past experiences with food, all these different factors, whether they have medical conditions or anything like that. So I'll get them to fill out a food diary first, and then I'll spend, depending on how much time they need, to maybe shift their dietary habits to a more healthier lifestyle, for example. It depends on the time. As I say, everyone is so different. So one person might just need an hour of advice and guidance, and then someone else might need a few weeks of implementation of certain habits that might make them feel and look better too. So it really does depend on the person.
And how long might you work with a client for? Do they have to come and see you every week for a number of weeks, or online?
Yes, so actually most of my clients at the moment are online. So I will do maybe a 4-week kind of program with them. So I'll do my weekly check-in calls and speak to them maybe on the phone for an hour, see how they're getting on, see kind of what worked for them in the last week, what they maybe found challenging that week, what they would like to work on for the week going forward, and then kind of a wrap up on, the good things, the bad things, and kind of their overview of their eating and what has changed in their diets and starting with me. So a 4-week program is kind of the starting point with working with me. I think it's the best. You're not with me for 8 weeks or 12 weeks, and I'm not ringing you absolutely every weekend going, how was your week this week? And they're going, for goodness sake. So I think, 4 weeks is the average time I'll work with a client. And then of course I have my clients who might return to me and just have like a check-in and say, can you maybe look at my diet again just to make sure I'm on track? For example, I have a lovely client at the moment who wanted to go towards kind of plant-based living, but doing it safely and ensuring that she's still getting all the kind of necessary nutrition and nutrients that you need when you're shifting towards a vegan lifestyle. So things like B12 that aren't really found in large levels in plant-based living, so because it comes predominantly from dairy and meat. So she came to me, I looked at her diet, we looked at some kind of supplements and some alternative foods that she could get these vitamins from. So she did 4 weeks with me online, and then in a few months now we've checked in a date and said, let's do a check-in, look at how your diet's been since you finished with me, and just ensure you're on the right track, you're not opening yourself up for deficiencies.
Because presumably a lot of it is in the maintenance as well, and kind of making the changes habitual. Can I ask, what works for you? What does your kind of diet comprise of, and any other supplements or anything that keeps you well?
I think so. I've always said to people, whole foods first is my approach. And then if you need them, you can pop in your supplements or pop in your vitamins here and there. But I think in this kind of world of, all these crazy supplements and all these amazing meal replacement shakes and all these tablets and pills and everything, sometimes we actually forget to take it back to basics. We forget about all this amazing, incredible food.
Does that include juicing? Would you recommend the food at source rather than blended?
Yes, so I love juices. I'll have a juice, after exercise. I think they're a great way to just get in some vitamin C quickly on the go. But in terms of, going through a whole juice diet for a week, I think you're much better to get your whole foods first, because if you're juicing an orange, you're taking out some of the fiber there, which is an excellent source of well-being, and it's really important for your gut, for it just affects all these different things within your body. So when you're juicing things, you're taking out some of the really important components that might be vital to your health. And, you know, if you're lowering your carbohydrate intake in other ways, and then you're juicing as well, there's not much fibre there. And, you know, we're trying to aim for 30 grams a day with fibre. And actually most of the UK are getting nearly under half of that. So, and it's, yeah. So I wouldn't recommend, you know, a full week of juicing and predominantly juices in your diet, looking at the whole foods first. And then you can add everything in on top if you need it.
Yeah. So what other kind of diet do you tend towards, and how did you how did you evolve to eat what you eat?
So I don't really believe in strict dieting or anything like that. So I'm never on like a diet per se, but I'm predominantly pescatarian. So I eat fish, I eat eggs, but I don't eat any red meat or anything like that. It's just kind of a choice I made a few years ago. I actually grew up vegetarian for a few years with my mum, who was vegetarian. Then I ate meat for a few years while I was in school, and then when I was 16, I just decided, you know, when I eat meat, I don't really feel great. It doesn't affect me personally in the best way, so I shifted back towards a kind of pescatarian lifestyle. So it's not too restrictive or anything like that, but it's just, it works for me, and it's what makes me feel the best, and it depends on the person really. So I would never recommend strict dieting. I think it's damaging.
How do you deal with cravings for sweet and salty things, which many of us grapple with?
Yes, I am the worst person for salt, even despite being a nutritionist. I do love sea salt on my food, which is terrible, but I'm working on it. So craving, they're two quite different ends of the spectrum. So for craving sweet things, I think picking up fruit and berries and things like that. You know, if you're fighting against this craving and your body's telling you, I would like something, you know, fighting against it, sometimes it's actually counterproductive. So listening to your body, first of all, your body is very clever, so it's telling you things, and it's important for us to kind of listen to it. So if I have, for example, a craving for sugar, which I did last night, I'm trying to think what I did. I had a nice peppermint tea, like I'm having now, and just something that's healthier. I didn't reach for, you know, something that was really processed. I think I had a few raspberries and a banana as well. So something that's gonna, you know, satisfy the craving, but actually help and give me nutrition in the process as well, and not make my energy go completely down by, you know, instead of reaching for a processed chocolate bar or something like that, which there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're looking to maybe be healthier, that's what I like to do. So satisfy the craving, but make sure that it's, if you can, it's a nutritional kind of choice and it will be in line with your health. Okay. For salt then, salt is a tricky one. I think if you are craving salt, sometimes it can be a symptom. For example, if you have just exercised and you've sweated a lot and you're craving salt, it's maybe your body telling you, right, you need to replenish this store that we've just lost. So things like salted peanuts or something like that is a good step. And actually drinking water is, even if you're craving salt, drinking a little bit more water is a good step that I would always recommend to people, even though it seems counterproductive, but that's something that I would recommend.
Okay. Now the big chunky topic, which is the connection between diet and mental health.
Yes.
What research is there out there that the latest kind of theories on the connection between the two?
Yeah. Well, one thing a fact and something from research I've seen recently is the big connection between your gut and serotonin production. 90% of serotonin is actually produced in your gut.
And serotonin is a chemical, that's sort of feel-good chemical. It's a natural antidepressant.
Yes, and it's basically we call it the happy hormone. So it increases your mood and makes you feel it's the feel-good kind of hormone. And I find that really interesting. You know, what you're putting into your body, what you're putting into your gut is so connected with your mood, and people don't realize this. And that's kind of one of the main things recently now is trying to emphasize this connection between what you're feeding your body is so important to your mental health and your mental well-being. It's so important. And, getting your fiber, which produces B vitamins, which is all connected to mental health as well. It's just a absolutely massively broad range of nutrition that affects little things in your brain and will help you feel good. So I think the research really does show now that healthier, fresher foods are the way to go now to help, your gut and its efficiency and all your kind of your feel good. When you eat a healthy meal, you feel good in comparison to when you eat maybe takeaway or a meal deal or something really processed. It's just you can't compare the two. And it's just, you see, what you see is what you get. If you eat something fresh, you're going to feel great, you're going to feel empowered and energetic. But if you eat something that's greasy and terrible, you might feel good for the 5 minutes that you're eating it, but then afterwards you might feel a little bit run down.
Right. So, terrible. There's no denying that people thoroughly enjoy sort of the more junk food type categories. However, you're saying that it's short-lived and that more beneficially, especially for mind state, it's better to switch to health, whole foods, unprocessed.
Yes, and that's actually something that I've done recently. In the past few weeks, I was so busy in work and everything like this, and I was so bad for buying maybe protein bars and things on the go and more kind of processed foods and, maybe wraps and meal deals and things like that. Nothing like too unhealthy, but it just wasn't fresher foods. And actually investing my time now recently into taking the time to prepare fresher foods that I can take with me and have for my lunch and have on the go, and bananas and apples and all these whole foods. I have seen this massive shift in energy in my kind of my mood and my energy, and I just feel a lot better. And it's just such a big example of how if you just replace some of these processed kind of unhealthy, sugary, kind of refined foods out of your diet with maybe more healthier, fresher whole foods, you will really feel a lot better. You'll feel more empowered, you'll have less stress and all these different things. It's just it's incredible the connection between our diet and how we feel and our mood and all these amazing things that are so connected with it. Yeah.
And it sounds a very lived experience for you that you can tell the difference. And I wonder about if you can tell us what it was like growing up. Did you have any mental health challenges that you went through?
So I never really had too many kind of mental health challenges until getting to maybe university and the last few years of my life, where I think stress was a massive obstacle for me in some cases, around exams. There was a lot of pressure, there was a lot of stress with money, being a student and going through university like many of us experience. And then last year was my dissertation year, and I went through all the exams, and I went through kind of a more difficult period with my mental health during that. And it reflected on the other areas of my life, and I was maybe wasn't choosing fresher foods, I wasn't investing in my health, I wasn't going to the gym, I wasn't doing any exercise, I was maybe, I was going out and I wasn't focusing on what's really important. And I think, your mental health and maybe stress and things, it really affects all these other factors in your life and you might not realize. And I think I was caught in this kind of stage where I didn't actually realize that all these symptoms of stress and anxiety and my lowered kind of state of mental health was actually in a state that it was impacting on other areas of my life. So I was feeling less motivated. I was, eating unhealthy foods. I wasn't going to the gym and doing all these important things that I maybe was doing before. So I went through, a little bit of a struggle there, and it was tough, but I just got up one day and realized, what I need to maybe stop feeling like this. Let's get up and I may not feel good now, but I'm going to really invest my time and shift my energy to productive activities. So exercise was a massive, massive thing for me. And that's why I'm such an advocate for healthy lifestyle and the importance of getting up and getting moving in terms of mental health. I think exercise is one of the most important things you can do if you are struggling with stress, anxiety, depression, all these different things that many of us do go through. I think exercise is one of the biggest keys to this.
I fully agree with that, by the way. Absolutely. If there's one recommendation, if someone should do anything. But how did you come to that point where you realized that that's what you needed to do, or that's what you wanted to do? Because for many people, it's they know they ought to be doing that to feel better, but it's that moment of sort of the catalyst. What happens?
Well, I was always very into research, obviously studying nutrition and everything like that. I always had quite a big interest into mental health. And when I was struggling with my mental health and feeling a little bit lower, I came across the social prescribing platforms that we have now here in the UK, and social prescribing is becoming quite a big thing. And I got quite interested in this kind of new avenue that I'd never really heard of before. So doctors actually prescribing exercise and things like gardening and getting up and going for a walk instead of prescribing people that are struggling with these symptoms with a pill. It just didn't make sense to me. And I came across this while I was kind of going through stress and lowered state of mental health, and thought that just makes so much sense. And why am I sitting here maybe feeling like this when I can get up and move and actually create all these happy hormones and feel good and take more control over my state of mental health here. So that was a big thing that kind of influenced me.
And do you think the exercise could have worked alone, or was the diet really integral to integrate?
I think diet is so important. That exercise and diet go hand in hand. If it's like a pedestal, if you have one, it tips the other. You can't. It's very important to have your diet in check as well as your exercise. It's great if you're going out, you're running and you're lifting weights or you're rowing or all these different things, but then you're going home and you're eating a cheeseburger and you're eating processed foods. You're not going to feed your body what it needs. And it's just so important to have this in check too. And on the other side of things, if you're eating unhealthy foods and you're wanting to take part in all these amazing activities and sports, your performance is going to be impacted on what you're putting in your body first as well. So they're really connected. They go hand in hand. So I would always say to someone, if you're wanting to exercise, if you're wanting to run a marathon, you need to get your diet in check first, because that's the fuel that goes into your body and will help your performance, not only just physically, but mentally, and will help your kind of attitude towards sport and things like your sleep, which are so important as well. So they really do go hand in hand.
And so is that something that you discuss with clients? You also include conversations about exercise and sleep?
Yeah, sleep is a really big kind of area of interest for me as well. There in certain for certain clients, I actually bring up there's two hormones. There's one called ghrelin and leptin, particularly if they're looking for weight loss type areas. So ghrelin is the hunger hormone, and ghrelin's the hormone that's kind of released when our body's telling us, right, I need some fuel, I'm hungry, feed me, essentially. And then leptin is kind of the other side of the switch. So leptin is released in our body when we're full. But when we are sleep deprived and we're tired, it really messes up the levels of these hormones. So, we might then tend to overeat because we're sleep deprived, and it affects the levels of the hormone release, messes up the balance, and then it makes us eat a lot more. So sleep is such an important factor, and even for things like exercise, your recovery and your muscle repair and your cell repair, cell renewal, all these amazing processes that go on when we're asleep. And when we're sleep deprived, that doesn't really happen as efficiently.
So objectively, there's a lot to get right. There's the sleep, there's the exercise, there's the diet.
Yeah.
And, you seem to be living it and very well and embodying all those well-being principles. And you seem to be living a very healthy life. For anyone watching or listening who's struggling to get onto that kind of positive loop, where would you suggest they start?
I think, it seems quite an intimidating thing to, if you're maybe looking to get a lot healthier. What I say to people is take baby steps. It takes a while and it takes patience and time to achieve anything, essentially. So if you're wanting to maybe get better sleep and get more energy and lose weight and do all these amazing things, I always get clients coming into me going, I want to change my life and I want to lose all this weight in a week. And I go, hold on, let's just take baby steps here. And because otherwise you're completely overloading yourself with all these things. It's great to maybe want to change all these in a week or a month, but it might not be realistic for you. So taking baby steps and writing maybe one thing you want to achieve and one habit you want to form maybe a week, and achieving that first and then fitting in all the other things. But I think the best thing to start with is your diet.
Of course.
And getting that in check first, and then
where could people see your work and where could they contact you?
Yes, so they can email me. I predominantly work on Instagram at the moment. That's my main kind of channel of getting the research and interpreting research and sharing it with the public. So my Instagram is Nourished by Kristen. Then I've also got my YouTube channel, which I use my YouTube channel to share more of my own experiences. So how I became a nutritionist, why I'm interested in nutrition, and that's kind of more an insight into my life. Whereas my Instagram page is all about kind of sharing the research on mental health, on diet, the latest studies, and giving people the information that they might need to shift towards a more positive and healthy lifestyle.
And I must say, I did find it very informative, the Instagram, and also the YouTube, very, very helpful for people looking to train as well. It's kind of you giving them an insight into what it's like as a career, and again, different differences between nutritionists and dietitians as well. So really useful to the public. Thank you so much for joining us, for sharing your background, and very inspiring to hear about your healthy lifestyle, and hopefully we could take you from that. Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you so much.
If you feel you'd benefit from therapy and want to transform your life, HarleyTherapy.com is here to help you book counseling with qualified professional therapists online or in person at times and prices that suit you wherever you are in the world. If this is your first listen to Therapy Lab, do hit subscribe to keep up to date with new episodes. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, and listen at HarleyTherapy.com/TherapyLab. We'll see you next time.